So, the first episode of HBO's The Last of Us video game adaptation was, unsurprisingly, pretty good. The story is very important to me. I love video game, and I love the characters and the world that was created. The first episode of the show, when you're lost in the darkness, definitely looks very promising. Probably the best idea that the writers of the show could come up with was to expand the beginning, before the outbreak. Compared to the game, we got to spend much more time with Sarah and see her everyday routine. This definitely adds some more weight to her death. Sarah's death in the game was very heartbreaking, but in the show they managed to make this moment even more impactful. The whole beginning really managed to capture the atmosphere of the game. Attention to details also deserves much respect. It's certainly a good sign. The creators of the show really put much effort into giving those who never played the game the authentic feeling and the authentic experience. My only complaint would be the old lady who gets infected and chases Sarah. I thought that this scene was pretty lame, but I'm talking from a gamer's perspective. For those who never played the game, that would be the first encounter with cordyceps infected, and it gives a pretty good idea about what to expect from the show in general. Once the outbreak starts, the tension is just through the roof, up to the moment when the soldier shoots Sarah dead. The intro scene before the opening, explaining the nature of fungus, was a fitting addition as well. And can we just appreciate how well Gustavo Santaolalla rearranged his own music for the show? It's really hard to think of any piece of music that fits the world of The Last of Us better. Stylistically, this intro fits HBO projects perfectly. It reminded me of other HBO projects, Game of Thrones, The House of the Dragon, Westworld, and True Detective, especially the first season, which was really great. More details were added to life in the quarantine zone as well, especially the execution scene. It gives us an idea how far back society has gone after cordyceps pandemic started, and how brutal life has become. As for performances, both Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey didn't disappoint, especially Bella. His performance was very good so far. At one moment he even sounded like Ashley Johnson in the game. Pedro Pascal, on the other hand, felt like a different character compared to video games Joe, but it's absolutely fine. It's an adaptation after all, and not a copy of the game. We can compare acting and cinematography in both the game and the show, but after all, these are two different types of media. My only real fear about the show is how it's gonna make us feel threatened by all these infected and other enemies. In the game, there are few terrifying moments. The office building where we first encounter a clicker, or the hotel basement where we come across a bloater for the first time. When we play the game, we know that we can die any moment. We can die multiple times. In the game, we become the characters. This makes us feel closer to Joel and Ellie. This makes us feel more connected to them. All the enemies, whether infected clickers or cannibal thugs, feel like legitimate threats. This is my but with the show. This simply cannot be remade in a show format. The showrunners must have worked really hard to recapture this feeling. I hope Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann pulled it off. And judging by the first episode, they did many things right. And the show looks very good so far. The Last of Us proves again how immaculate HBO production is. Really looking forward to watching the next episode.